And if you didn't do anything for 90 days at all, you'd be in real trouble, right?
Yeah, that's what's really kind of freaky is thinking about like, well, what if we don't fight this? Because all these adaptations you go through are not a problem when you're in space. It's only a problem if you want to come home.
Right.
Right? Losing that bone, even like not using your vestibular organs anymore, your semicircular canals, your otolith organs, you're not making use of those for your balance. You're just going purely on the visual. What that does initially is it make you kind of sick. You get kind of, it's like being airsick or seasick. But once your body adapts, you're fine. So the question is like, what would we become if we didn't fight it? What if we just went with it and stayed up there?
Be like a water balloon. What would you become, right?
You become, actually, the place I think in science fiction that gets it the most correct is if you watch The Expanse. You ever watch that show?
No, I heard it's a really good show. I never got into it, though.
It's good, and they get it right because they show people like these belters that live in partial gravity like their whole lives, and they have much more slender bones.
Oh.
And like they catch this like terrorist guy, and they want to torture him, and all they do is they make him stand up in gravity on Earth, and it's incredibly painful for him. And I'm like,
wow.
Yeah, that would probably be what would happen.
And it must take a long-ass time to get everything back. If you went from Earth gravity to the space station and you lived up there for a year and didn't do anything about it and then came back to Earth, I mean, you'd basically be like, it would be hard to crawl, right?
Yeah. You would, all your, if you don't try to fight it, the vestibular stuff would come back probably about the same rate, but you would be really hurting with your muscle atrophy and your bone. So you would lose a lot of your skeleton if you're up there for a year and did nothing. And you would also, all your muscles that you don't use, like in your legs and your postural muscles, so in your lower back, you're not using those anymore. So they would just like waste away to nothing. You'd be okay in your arms because you're doing everything. Everything you do is with your arms. That's how you move. That's how you get around is by pulling and pushing. But you don't. There's no walking. There's no stairs. There's nothing.
Does it affect the way you think at all?
You know, some people describe a kind of an issue with short-term memory. They call it like space brain. And
boy, is that a small group of people that would understand what you're talking about there. Yeah. Oh, I got space brain. Bro, I got that too.
Oh, yeah. So it's something that I never really noticed it, but I don't know how much of that is real and how much is like you're freaking out because you're in space, right? So it's distracting and maybe you forget like what that number was you're supposed to remember. But you know, like if you're really in the middle of something and you're all excited and you kind of can't remember somebody's phone number, it's kind of like that.
Oh, okay. So it's just, I would imagine that just being up there breathing that recirculated air has got to be odd, right?
Yeah. And it might stink, but I don't know. Because the other thing that happens is you have this big fluid shift. So right now, we have a lot of blood pooling up in our legs. And our heart, its most important job, of course, is to feed the brain oxygenated blood. And then when you take the gravity vector out of the picture, the heart sends too much up to the brain, and the stuff doesn't collect in our legs anymore, and it all shoots up here, and you get the shift of all that blood volume to your upper body, and your head gets all puffed up.
Whoa.
Yeah, like my first night in space, I went to sleep, which was kind of hard to do because you're in space. You don't want to go to sleep, right?
Yeah.
And on that first night, I woke up in the middle of the night, and I could have sworn I was standing on my head doing a headstand or a handstand. I'm like, why am I standing on my head in my sleep? This is strange, right? And then I looked out the window, I saw the Earth. I'm like, oh, that's right, I'm in space.
So all the blood was just kind of pooling in your head.
Yeah.
As if you're like hanging by gravity boots or something.
It feels exactly like that.
Wow.